my butt. Suck my butt.
How would you children like to suck on my chocolate salty balls?
Oh, you mean like a chocolate candy?
No, I mean my balls.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of It's been a while since I've done that one. SMB.
What?
A South Park review.
Oh.
Right here on all podcast outlets and on the tube where you click stuff. YouTube. Click it.
Ooh, love it. Love those kinds of tubes. You go to a tube.com, you can click stuff. You know you're having a happy day, especially when mom's out of the house. Right, guys?
Happy day. Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod is our landing page. Gives you a whole list and gaggle of different ways you can follow us on all of our social media outlets at SouthParkPod, at SouthParkPod on Twitter, and South Park Podcast on Instagram. We're back for episode number 170 of South Park. It is 173 here. SMB. And you know what? I think this second intro is actually better than the first. So shout out to Dane for making sure we were moving this train on the track.
I'm one of those guys that if there's 5 kids over there and there's 1 kid's over there, I'm getting 2 trains to run both groups over, Matt.
Whoa, wait.
I've solved the issue. Just get rid of all of them.
So that's the jaywalking issue. I get it. If they're going to play on the tracks, well, that's the dance they're going to do today.
Absolutely. I'm not making a switch. I'm choosing both.
Devil Jose, I'm waiting to say. But we're back to dance with you, your ear hole, or maybe your visual, as we dance with you in this review.
We love dancing with you too. You're very graceful, audience members. Very polite. You ask me before you reach your hand down there.
Whoa. We're not down there is what we're talking about. We're talking about upstairs. Now, we don't have a lot of upstairs. We don't have a lot of major boobage.
It's all in the mind.
That is the title of today's episode. You might be wondering who we are. I'm your host, Nahid. I can't be beat. Every guy who's higher, the air is dry. Your boy, MSG.
Oh.
That's it. I'm your boy. I already did all the plugs, so I don't have to do that again. I am not alone. But first, we want to shout out to our hombre, the man who's got a doctor of thugonomics, punkonomics, scooponomics, polyphonics, 2022 Red Rock Day 1 South Park Trivia Champion, Dirty JV, who's just went into surgery, probably when he's listening to this at some point. So shout out to you, Joe, when you listen to this later.
Poor guy. He's getting the edge. He's got his whole neck being put right back together. He's getting the edge. So everyone throw out a thought. He's going to be out for at least a month.
So but this is now technically 3 weeks later when you listen to it. So he'll be out for 3 more weeks by the time you're listening to this, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, you hear his voice here on the podcast today. This man likes to bring the pain. Digital marketing game. This man likes to solicit those pics to get your clicks.
That's right.
I got it
Tube.com.
right this week because I'm not so high, but this man will take you high on the sensational nation that is the wrestling sophistication known as Derby City Championship Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, Dane Becker.
You know I'm the cream of the guppy. That was my terrible, terrible impression of that. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matt. And just like MSG, Matt, you just make everything better. Sprinkle a little Matt on your life, brightens your day. We're here to entertain your upstairs holes as we talk about the midsection that we're all obsessed with. Come on now, gays, straights, and everywhere on that spectrum that we so love. You can appreciate a thick, milky mommy, and that's what we got lined up for you today.
Question as one straight male to one male who likes whoever he wants to be.
Oh, hi there. How you doing?
Do you feel like it's attractive in larger men when they do have more major boobage?
So there is a large section of the community that likes what we would call moobies, thick man moobies. In fact, I am not one of them, but I will show you that I have a thick man movie mousepad for all of you pure auditory on our podcast, I mean, that's fine. But you should go to our YouTube channel, subscribe right now, because I am holding up the spiciest mouse pad. It's literally just an anime character with thick middies. People like middies. People like middies. Do I like middies? I'm not a midi guy. I like my men like
I like MIDI controllers.
I make the beep beep boop boops. No, I am not a MIDI person. I'm more of a Darby Allin guy. You know, if you bring me a Darby Allin in the bar, I'm all over. If you bring me like Jotaro stuff, you know, Hassan Piker levels of just man, I'm not gonna go for it. I don't need all that warmth and hair in my life.
Well, we learned something new today, listeners. If you weren't aware, movies are just as provocative and sexual as boobies. So I think we can relate on this episode of Major
The middies. The middies are a vibe.
Major Boobage. It is the third episode of season 12 and the 170th overall episode of South Park, as it aired on March the 26th, 2008.
Ooh.
That's
We're
right.
getting close to 200 at this point. They've got to be thinking about it. They're like, okay, we're like locked in. What are we not going to get like 26 episodes? Please. We're going to get that on like the next deal.
Or the war against the war. Who cares? 200 episodes.
200 episodes.
We already did 100 episodes. Who are you talking to? Well, let's talk about this episode today. As we mentioned, it's called Major Boobage in a South Park homage to the 1981 film Heavy Metal. Now, first of all, if you've never seen Heavy Metal, I want you to stop, put the podcast away for a moment, and I want you to go watch Heavy Metal.
Find it.
Yeah, well, it's not that hard to find. You can find it on streaming.
No, it's rentable. It's purchasable. It's digital.
It's probably somewhere free. It's cracked. It's almost 50 years old.
Literally ride the high seas, and you can find it on your favorite boating website. I mean, come on, y'all.
It's got to be within 10 years before it's going to be hitting eminent domain here at some point.
Yeah, that shit had John Candy in it. Okay.
A 40-year-old movie. But anyway,
yeah,
go find it. And the reason why Heavy Metal was such a big, movie at the time is because it was like one of the first big adult animated films that
yes, absolutely
resonated with the American audience in regards to the music, the use of drugs, and the culture at that time in which going through. So
really hit the culture perfectly, even in its stylization. It had film grain and dirtiness, but also not really crude, just like, I don't know, drug induced. And it hit, and it made money. And it really was like, you hit the nail on the head. Adult animation that was popular, hit culturally, and made cash. That's what is Ralph Bakshi making $1 billion with his come on now.
So here's how this episode starts off. It starts off Mr. Mackey. He's teaching the fourth graders the dangers of drugs, choking themselves, and whatnot. Of course, at one point, he's like, doesn't he pass around marijuana? Okay. And then it goes missing.
He doesn't get it back, dude. That happened in school.
I'm going to need that back, children.
I remember a dare cop, when he came to our school, he literally warned us. He was like, if I don't get exactly what I give you guys in this baggie, I'm not letting anyone leave until I get it back. Like, he threatened us. He would lock the doors. And I get it, but why are you passing around weed to kids? I was in third grade.
You want to hear something interesting? I remember in my DARE program, they went worse, bro. It was in a solid cube. So somebody had done it.
Welcome to the DARE cube.
No, it was like a solid clear cube. So and the crack was put in the cube. So that way you could pass the cube around. You'd have to somehow.
It was literally in an isometric cube.
Yeah, exactly. Like this, someone had poured the crack into an isometric cube or whatever, and then sealed it, and then that's what it was. It passed it around. So I remember looking. You could shake it, look at it, and all that shit. And I was like, "Wow, it's crazy."
Crack is so dangerous. We put it underneath layers and layers of enamel, and also gave it to a bunch of black people.
Well, and then we blamed it all on the Mexicans.
Absolutely. Our FBI guys are currently screaming right now. Shut the podcast down. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Delete all episodes. Find them.
There's a turd in the punch bowl. Santa
just starts twitching.
So here's, as we mentioned, Mr. Mackey. He then, of course, unironically or ironically, ends up giving Kenny an idea in trying to choke himself, which, of course, as we will learn, this will eventually lead to Kenny's downfall, because eventually he's going to learn how to choke himself later on when he chokes himself in the Batman costume. But for now, Kenny is going to try and choke himself, but it does not work. Butters also questions at one point if you can actually get high off cat urine, and which Mr. Mackey says is actually not urine, but it's highly concentrated liquid is what produced from the cats that they spray in their territory. So
hello?
Basically, if you ever see it, I've never seen it or been up close as,
No, and I never had outside cats, and I think only really outside cats do that shit.
Right. It's outside cats that are, well, I don't know. I've seen cats.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they're fighting for territory, right?
Maybe like when the females get old, they just start like.
I had a cat, rest in peace, my little boy, my little dude, Nori. We had him for like 15, 16 years.
Oh, R.I.P. Nori.
R.I.P. Nori. He was a fighter, a little Bombay cat. So he would come back.
Of course.
Just go back, fuck people up. And I was like, that's my dude. Well, but I'm sure if he wanted to, he could probably spray his fucking neuter type of spray.
Yeah.
So basically, think of it like a queef. These cats basically queef or fart and
spraying the piss,
and they spray this liquid in their territory to mark it, and that is induced by a rage, conflict, right, fight or flight mode.
Yes.
After put in positions. So that's what Mr. Mackey kind of explained. And then, of course, he even at one point resolves, maybe I shouldn't have told you all that. Realize I probably shouldn't.
That was probably bad. Okay. Very Hagrid moment. If Hagrid had told them instead of where the Philosopher's Stone is, what a drug is.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have told you that.
I shouldn't have done that. He's just a boy.
Here's the episode as it starts. Mr. Mackey's mentioned inside the classroom.
Okay, kids, we have something very serious we need to discuss
Garrison,
today.
of course.
Okay? It appears that some kids in school are getting high by choking themselves.
What?
Some kids call it the choking game.
Kenny's already formulating a plan.
Okay?
R.I.P. David Carradine.
Okay.
You can get high from choking yourself?
School children
He's trying it now.
Experimenting with dangerous ways to get high.
Kenny just started choking himself
Glue,
in class.
guzzling cough medicine.
Comment below if you've done that.
Okay? But they're all bad. Okay?
My cousin's in Florida who said kids in their school get high off of cat pee.
Yeah.
Cat pee? That's not
Cat
true. You
pee.
can't get high off of cat
My cousin
urine,
in
can you?
Florida, that actually sounds pretty perfect.
It's not actually cat
man.
urine, but male cats, when they're marking their territory, spray a concentrated urine to fend off other male cats, and that can get you really high.
Yeah.
Okay?
What?
Really high.
Really high.
Okay?
Probably should have told you that.
Probably shouldn't have told you that just now. Okay? That was probably bad.
Why?
Probably should have told you that just now.
This is literally a great representation of adults that grew up into the drug war era.
Probably should have told you.
Don't do marijuana. It'll get you really fucked up. I've never done acid except 8 times, and it really blows your mind. But don't do it. It's evil.
So, Dane, have you ever smoked a cigarette in your life?
Yeah, plenty of times. You know, once you're at the bar and you're drunk on LITs and someone has a pack of Camel Crushes, I know it sounds gay, but that's because I am at a gay bar. I am gay, and I am literally wanting a Camel Crush.
There's nothing wrong with the Camel Crush.
Oh, bro, please. Absolutely not.
When you first were told probably to not smoke cigarettes, was then your inclination to go and try cigarettes after that?
No, I mean, like, I had an opposite effect. A lot of people probably do that, but I had the opposite effect because I lived with my military side of the family, my uncle and aunt, while my mom was, like, working and shit. So I'd spend, like, entire years or summers with them, and my God, both of them smoked, like, literally chimneys all the time. Always in the car, always around the house, all the time. So, like, cigarette smoke to me is nothing at this point. Nothing. So, like, that killed any addiction I could smoke 6 packs right now and I wouldn't think about smoking a pack tomorrow. Like, it killed my addictive properties. So, like,
I understand.
I am totally weird. I think a lot of people are, especially now that vaping is so accessible, or has been since blue cigarette, like literally a decade ago. Like literally, it's been 10 years. All these kids are smoking. You can't do anything except like educate them like adults, which will, has already been a South episode. I wish you guys just would have been honest with me about drugs instead of, I don't know, hiring a future self.
Future self. I mean, no, I get it. No, what I was going to say is I'm the same way. I didn't do a lot of drugs or anything really until I was 18. And then when I got into college, then I was like, okay, my parents aren't here. I'm going to do this shit now, right? I mean, every now and then when I was younger, I did have, I tried weed, but that was about it. That was about the most I had tried. But, then you get college, you try mushrooms, you try acid, and you try shrooms, and you fucking try, Molly.
Haven't stepped into that yard yet. I have actually not stepped into almost all yards. It's literally just been like cigarettes and like, everyone smoked the green sticks here and there. So it's only been that. It never gone past that. That's not a pendulette thing either. I don't have pride in that. I don't really care.
Maybe you and your lover need to get a nice box of wine, invite your friend Molly over, and I'm sure you two will have a lovely evening.
In gay culture, that is such a thing that has been asked. I just haven't gotten to the right party, but you go to most parties, anything that has flashing lights and like at some point a share song, and like that thing is getting passed around like dinner mints.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, the Molly flows like wine. Wow. Honey, wine, and Molly for the homosexuals. Now I'm starting to sound like a Republican. This is all deviant lifestyle.
Well, in this case, the boys had the opposite effect. They were told not to do or not to understand, or they was bad about, learning about cat urine. So what do? Well, they go to Cartman's house. The boys managed to get Kenny high off Mr. Kitty. And Mr. Kitty, it's okay, Mr. Kitty. Kenny then descends into a surreal, imaginary world surrounded by boobs. He, of course, encounters a beautifully large-breasted, scantily dressed woman. Probably smelled good too.
Bouncing boobily down the streets.
All the breasts in the hallucination are completely all visible and uncensored, except when the woman reveals hers. They don't show that, which remains unseen every time.
She has the nicest ones.
After attempting to take his clothes off while running around town, though, Kenny is brought out of his drug stupor by Cartman, which is going to make him very, very angry.
Mm-hmm.
He woke him up while he was in the middle of his drug trip. So we're going to go ahead and show a little bit of this. Of course, there is some copyrighted music in here that I can't play more than a couple seconds. So when that comes up, if we mute it, that is why. Just to give you an idea, because I don't want to get hit for copyright. All right, so here's Cartman meets Kitty.
Are you just so upset right now? Yeah, it's not gonna work. Okay, you ready, Kenny? All right, bring out the other male cat.
Bring out the other male cat. Cats are, of course, yelling back and forth. Kenny, his head near the cat's ass.
It's beginning. The cat feels territorial. It has sprayed.
It has sprayed, and now Kenny's descent.
Do anything? Well, Kenny, are you buzzed?
It's the first copyright song. Copy. No, I got it, Matt. Booty. I'll just do this the whole time.
So Kenny is drifting through space. And he lands in a car, and then he's in this badass Pontiac Grand Prix Back to the Future looking kind of car, right? And he descends onto this planet, as we mentioned, of course, beautifully, like, artistically drawn here by the South Park creators and their team to kind of pay homage, as we mentioned, to that 1981 heavy metal film, right? Placing Kenny in that same universe. Well,
woo! Lord, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel watching this visually, you should drop the podcast right now, actually finish it auditorially, and then rewatch it live, because we are getting a full view, people.
Kenny gets picked up in his own car. So the chick jumps in the car with him, and she takes over the driving. Now they, of course, arrive at the titty-bitty kingdom, if you will.
Yeah, it's just like a desert and cyclopean architecture, and this girl's wearing a cowboy hat. and there's monsters and trolls around, which is very heavy metal.
Very heavy metal, of course. Great art there. Some ogre-looking thing dies and gets a sword shot up through his head, and then Kenny arrives here to meet the king. Now, we might be able to play a little bit here.
Daughter's
I love this part.
rocking tits. Then bathe with my daughter in the fountain of Varna.
So there you go.
The Fountain of Varna. It's so heavy metal, and also everything, much like an H.R. Giger painting, is made out of boobies. Well, he's more peepees, but.
So we get a back shot of this girl, and Kenny's, of course, getting excited, thinking he's about to get naked and, get into the whatever, some sexual intercourse.
The pool of Varna.
And of course, now, and Cartman, unfortunately, wakes Kenny up, but he's like out in the middle of public, too.
Taking off his clothes.
Taking off his clothes, you're right. So let me jump right back to that here as the scene ends. I'll turn the volume back up here as Cartman wakes him up.
Nice.
Dude, that cat urine really fucked you up. You were seriously tripping balls. Kenny, knock it off. What's wrong with you? Kenny! Dude, Kenny, calm down.
Freak out. Post-high freak out.
What
Giant titties.
Kenny, all you did after the cat peed in your face was start running around in circles cheering. Yeah, and then you ran through town screaming and started tearing off all your clothes.
Cheering and screaming.
Of course, the boys realized there that this is some strong stuff, right?
Yeah. The high that he got was so hallucinatory and addictive. They're like, okay, this is like Ready Player One, but with titties.
Of course, this leads to a special report from Fox.
Brittany Welch.
Cheesing, is it killing your kids? As the new method of getting high, they realized, dubbed cheesing because it's fun
to do.
Kyle's parents, of course, Sheila and Gerald are watching it. And then this, of course, is going to, mothers against everything. That's what Sheila does. Brings it to a town meeting. Gerald, of course, in this case, manages to get a new law passed that bans cats in town. So
hooray for Gerald.
Hooray for Gerald. Yay, Gerald, you're our hero. All right. So, yeah, let's show a little bit of that. As this is kind of stupid that he blames the cats. And yeah,
very, very on, reactionary culture in today's boomer.
Right.
It's on Fox News. It's the newest drug craze. And
That's
it's
right.
killing your kids.
Killing your kid.
Killing our kids? All over America, kids are getting high on cat urine. Huffing cat urine apparently causes a euphoric state and is also referred
And there
to
she
as
goes.
cheesing. Why cheesing? Because it's fun to do.
It's fun to do.
This 6th grade girl says she's been snorting cat
That's
urine
right.
for several months.
We sometimes sneak out during recess and our friend Nate goes and gets her cats and we'll just cheese all day long.
Oh my God, Sheila, come look at this. So how can you tell if your child is cheesing? 1, your child seems distant, preoccupied.
Oh, wow.
2, your child's face smells
Exactly
like
the
cat
graphic.
Well, that would be an indication.
Tigers at the
Child's
zoo,
face smells like cat
starts
urine.
grinding his or her
You see
teeth.
tigers at the zoo, your
You
child
might
starts
also
grinding its
identify
teeth.
certain phrases your child says to school friends, such as, "Hey,
Let's go cheese."
Or,
Uh-huh.
"Do you feel like cheesing,
Cheesing, guys.
Or,
Perfect.
"Dude, I'm cheesing
You have my
best
fucking brains
out."
right now.
Absolutely. These are the telltale signs.
Kids do it because
Give
it's
us the
legal.
emotes.
What can you do before
Here it
it's
is. I love this.
We have to protect our children from this, Sheila.
Okay, before we go to the town hall, I just want to pause for just a moment. Just
So good. So good. So good.
That was great. The telltale signs. The
Golden
telltale
secret.
signs that your child is cheesy. 1, your child seems distant and preoccupied. Which that one you're like, okay, that's all children. But then number 2, your child's face smells like cat urine. 3. Look for the common phrases such as, dude, I'm cheesing my fucking brains out right now.
And it was so accurate to that. Oh my Lord. They know what nighttime television is like.
Well, maybe later on we'll dive into the drug epidemic as far as what the news media and how they purported some of the propaganda in which those special Dateline report there and fake line report, if you will, in South Park was kind of parodying. But let's show the town hall meeting now as Gerald's going to speak on banning cats.
20% of American students aged 6 to 12 say they have tried cheesing at least once. Kids also refer to it as the cheese game, or vitamin cheese, or Mary Jane piss in your face fun time. Cheesing is spreading fast.
All right, we're all sufficiently scared, Gerald, but what can we do?
Mary Jane piss in your mouth fun time.
Having a cat
I love that.
in the
Yeah.
city of South Park.
I would say that if I was a teenager.
Gerald's right. We all have to face it. Cats are deadly animals. If you stick
Yeah,
your
they
nose
are.
up their crotch and snort their piss, they can kill you.
Snort their piss. Okay, now they're just wrong.
Rid our town of cats so that our kids can never get high again.
Let's hear it for Gerald.
Hooray for Gerald! Why?
So here's what happens. All the people start showing up to DEA, Department of...
Environmental cheesing.
yeah.
Well, get over it, druggie.
Druggy.
Scrambles. We'll miss
Taking
you.
cats.
Taking cats. All these cats are taking...
Come for my cat, I swear to God.
Got two here.
The catch Kenny as he's about to start cheesing.
He's literally mid-cheese.
He's mid-cheese there, Dane. Mid-cheese. So all the cats are being taken away, except for one, as Cartman is able to hide Miss Kitty up in the basement, so that way... In the attic, I'm sorry. So that way he can't be taken. And throughout the remainder of this episode, which we'll come back to it, Cartman is going to basically turn himself into the Anne Frank, right, of cats, as he's going to hide his cats in the attic. So that way they're going to kind of parody that story here with cats. Okay, so as the time goes by, more and more cats are hidden, though, in the attic by Cartman. Somebody basically finds out that Cartman's hiding a cat, so they show up, then another person shows up. Even at one point in time, Cartman breaks down with the women, as they're crying together about the fact that they have to do what they have to save their cat. But I don't want to gloss over this fact that Cartman, I think, is going to stand up to Kyle here in the school about the fact that cats are banned.
Yeah.
Kind of again, says you wouldn't understand. And Kyle's, obviously gives him the look of like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
Jewish people were persecuted.
Carmen just does.
Guys, have you seen Kenny? No, I think Kenny's out sick today.
Kenny.
Yeah, and he was out sick yesterday, too. Guys, I think Kenny isn't here because he is at home cheesing.
Oh, that's right. The drug thing. I forgot about that.
Come on. Kenny knows how dangerous cheesing is. Yeah, and where's he gonna find cats
After school
anyway?
special
They're mellow.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Kenny ran around town. Why do you think he would fucking care, guys?
Pot's illegal too, but people still manage to find it. Ever since that first time Kenny cheesed, he hasn't been the
Managed to
same.
find it. It's not that
You
hard.
all noticed the change in him.
I wouldn't know.
I'll bet Kenny is home cheesing
This is
right
totally
now.
them making fun of after school specials right here, by the way.
No. Oh, God. Holler, heavy Kenny bad,
Kyle was right. Kenny was at home cheesing his fucking balls off as he's trying to make himself way back to see the chick's awesome boobs as they
And it looks like he's been there for a while. He's got a mount. He looks familiar with this.
When I was a kid, though, when I was like 20 and I saw this, the scene was pretty rocking right here. Anyway,
Holy shit, boobies, said Matt.
yeah. Anyway, so moving on.
Security breach.
Security breach. So Kenny shows up in this heavy metal and he kills all these ogre-looking motherfuckers, and then he gets the chick and she's riding on the Aerodactyl, whatever. Is it Aerodactyl from Pokemon? This pterodactyl-looking flying type of whatever bird, and Kenny's sitting under.
Oh, I thought what you said was a real thing.
No, Aerodactyl, that is a fucking Pokemon. Pterodactyl is an actual animal, or was a historic dinosaur.
I'm assuming Aerodactyl is the big purple pterodactyl.
It's a looking pterodactyl, yeah, with
I see.
wings. It first appeared in Gen 1, and they actually made it to get that Aerodactyl. You had to find I think it was like a nugget or fossil nugget versus the actual fossil where you got Omastar or Kabutops, and now we're talking about Pokemon. Anyway, as you can see here in the show, Kyle...
Damn, Matt, that was like encyclopedic. Dear Lord. That was great. I loved that.
I watch a lot of Pokemon stuff. Kenny is sitting under this hot chick's boobs, and they're riding and flying back on this bird-looking avian species. Hey, there you go. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Here comes Aerodactyl.
Who's that Pokemon? So at Kenny's house, Stan, Kyle, they find and Butters, find Kenny getting high off this cat, which they confiscate and then threaten to tell on him that if he does not stop getting high, taking his cat home. Kyle is grounded by Gerald, though, after Sheila finds it in the drawer, and they do, again, another after-school type special parody where your parents find the drugs in your drawer. Well, what is this? And they usually hold up a Ziploc bag with drugs in it. So this time it's a cat, which always made me laugh.
I learned it from you.
I learned it from you, Dad. You're right. That's an old school commercial. I remember that.
Wow, dude. Thank you for the Angry Video Game Nerd for teaching us all how those truck PSAs were just that. No, JonTron, when he did that. Speaking of JonTron, he's got a couple of videos up right now. We just came back dropping some. They are fantastic. He's been killing it. He must make boatloads because like he outputs one a month, maybe, and it's like all gravy from there. So shout out to JonTron. So Gerald first takes it down to the basement, that being the cat that he takes away from Kyle. But we're going to find out that Gerald cheeses too. Or at least he used to be a cheeser, and then he's tempted, and that leads him to cheesing once more. And you know what? I was very surprised when I found out that Gerald was a piece of shit during like the multi-part troll trace, like the entire season, where he just ends up, spoiler, killing someone, actually a lot of someone's, a tremendous amount of someone's, just to hide his internet history, and then a smorgasbord of other terrible shit. But you know what, Matt? He has always been a piece of shit, hasn't he? Norway. He bombed Norway. They bombed Norway. You won't do it. I'm just kidding. All right, so here's Stan, Butters, and Kyle busting into Kenny's house. I think they have like the music here too. We're good. The sadness. Oh, it's all looking high. Cats are running up the room. As Kenny's fucked up. Dude, he is covered in piss. He just picks up cats and gets cheese. That's what he does, and then he falls. He's flying. And he's out. Kenny! Right down. No. So after he wakes up, the boys have a heart-to-heart talk with him and tell him, hey, bro, you can't be doing these kind of things and blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to, as we mentioned, we're going to narc on you as Kenny throws up. I like this. That's a good little guy. Butters. Slow motion. Right back in.
Yeah, that's it, little buddy. Just let it out.
Butters playing the good cop here. But of course, Stan and Kyle playing the, parents in the situation. If you don't get your act together, we're going to let the police know. So it's at night now here, as we mentioned. Cartman is hiding these cats. So here's Cartman coming in with the old school 1930s, 1940s, what is it type of music? I don't know. He got that Schindler List soundtrack. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, foreign style music. Hey, dude. Star David's up. This music is fire.
Neighbor cat. He hasn't been
got Piccolo going.
No, Mr. Kitty. I know you like Rufus, but he has to fend for himself. I can't hide any more.
I love side Cartman. All right. He goes. Conspiracy theory: when Leanne took Mr. Kitty into her room in the first episode, it wasn't because of the dildo comment. It was that she wanted cheese.
No, I can't hide you all.
I'm sorry, you just have to find somewhere else to... Dude, he's got Schindler List clothing on. He's got the grade fedora. Oh my god.
Just as much trouble for 4 cats as for 2. Come on.
Oh, Kitty.
It's even like black and white. I have never seen Schindler's List. I should probably take this Star David off.
It's a good movie. Very good.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard. You know, I'm not the biggest Spielberg person.
I saw it probably like 6 or 7 years ago. I finally sat down and watched it because it's a long movie. But
is it graphic? Is it like, you know, does it really get into it, or is it more really? Oh my god!
Don't fuck around, dude. That's why I won an Academy Award just for its depiction because it's so real, you know how real it is.
What would you think is like more so in that manner? You think it's Saving Private Ryan or the Schindler's List like trumpet in terms of realistic?
I think they were both pretty realistic, but the difference between the two is Schindler's List. Because it was, I don't know, based on like they were able to base it on characters that you could like understand. There was more of a relationship to the movie versus Saving Private Ryan. They were the army guys or whatever, and then they eventually, you know, they're fighting for their life. So it's a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not as a bad thing. I'm just saying from a storytelling standpoint, Schindler's List, I think, is a little bit more captivating. You get into it. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's got Liam Neeson in it. It's one of his big breakout roles back then. So just go check it out if you've never watched it. Also got Ralph Fiennes in it as well. Ralph Fiennes. He's been in a lot of. He's like a year.
Yeah. God, man, Voldemort, right? Oh Lord, he just can't stop with those kinds of roles, dude. He must go home and take like 3 showers in a row.
So that is some of your history there. I guess you'd say on Schindler's List as you kind of related to this here. And I'm sure we'll get more into that in the pop culture references later on. Moving forward in this episode, as we mentioned, Sheila finds the cats and then they show it to Kyle, as we've talked about here. So we're going to jump to that scene really quick here. And then, of course, his complicated past with cheesing is starting to come to light in his own mind itself.
No? Then why did your mother find this in your dresser drawer?
The block bag.
Hey, look, that isn't mine. I'm just
Holding
holding it for a friend.
Don't lie to us, Kyle.
How long have you been on the cheese?
The cat is in a giant bag, man.
Get up to your room right now and tell your mother and I figure out how to deal with this.
This is ridiculous.
Now, Kyle!
And I think this probably happened. You don't see this part in the PSAs, but this probably happens more often than not. They find the baggie and then they just go to the basement and smoke it, dude. I'm pretty sure they did that in that 70s show. There was an episode where they found out that they were getting high down there, and then they got high down there by themselves.
No, what am I thinking? I shouldn't do this.
Oh, here he comes.
The whole thing is,
clean for 10 years.
He's got a fucking professional setup.
But then that report said our
That's right. Oh my God. He's got like, you know, like the sex swing for this.
2 cats.
That is in our home. And it's too tempting.
Oh, that's right.
He's got the setup here.
Does he double? Oh my God.
A little cat projector.
Just do it one more time. One last time. Then I'll call the police, have them pick up the cat. I'll never do it again. After this one.
He just has it ready to go, though, just in case of emergencies. He's ready to go pit cheese in.
Yeah, like the projector's there. It's hanging in the correct space. What is this?
So of course, the cat's going to be irritated by this projection of another cat on the screen. And then he sprays.
Boom.
Now Gerald.
His head separates from his body. And floating in the universe, he goes into heavy metal.
I'm going to fucking hit that track. I'm going to listen to that track after we get done to this so many times.
I got to watch this movie after this, dude. Damn. I'm going to track this one down. Dude, he's in the same plane from the movie, too.
Right? So Kenny went in a car. Gerald got into the exact same plane from the movie Heavy Metal, at least redrawn, if you will.
And he's experienced. He's been here often, obviously.
Right? So Gerald shows up at the it's called the Jewish Princess. That's his
plane's called the Jewish Princess. Fuck out of here.
So he shows up and he sees the hot chick and he's like, "Hey, it's been a long time."
I couldn't stay away.
So I don't want to play any more than that because again, copyright music under.
Curse your rockin' tits. The best line in this episode, dude.
Curse your rockin' tits. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, let me play it here so we don't.
Curse your rockin' tits.
Best line in this episode.
Curse your rockin' tits. And here's another quick scene here, as we mentioned, Cartman and this cat woman.
You're hiding cats.
The most Jewish lady in the world.
That would be illegal.
You don't
That
understand.
are Polish.
My little Nishka, she has nowhere else to go.
Oh, no, I cannot possibly take in another.
But they will find her.
I've already taken in the Andersons cats and the Walensky's. There's simply nothing else I can...
Simply can't do. Then he sees the cat. Meow.
He really
Then
likes
again.
cats.
Perhaps I can find space for just this one more.
Oh,
Honestly, this also
you
feels
show
like he's
such
just fucking with
kindness
Kyle
in
doing
such
this.
darkest of times.
And he just starts crying with this lady. I love crying Cartman.
So good when he's doing that, he's amazing.
I love crying Cartman. Well, unfortunately for Cartman, he finds Kenny in his basement now, like cheesing his fucking brains off, like going ballistic here to the point where he just gets his quick couple hits, gets a quick couple fix, and he gets on his way. Poor freaking Kenny. He's so addicted.
God, if Kenny had found this attic, he would have had it. Oh, there it is. He did find this attic. Oh my God, he is literally drowning in it. Kenny's gonna have a heart attack at this point.
So yeah, he's cheesed out of his fucking brain. So now in this imaginary reality, now Gerald's there, and as you heard, Kenny is now cheesed out of his mind. So
Yeah.
Gerald meets this large-breasted woman who, of course, we mentioned Kenny has encountered before. Gerald soon discovers that Kenny is now also there in the same reality. They're sharing that same vision, right? Who also got high off the cats. And the two now are going to have to fight over this imaginary woman. In actuality, it turns out they're going to be wrestling in a sandbox in the park where multiple people have come to watch them fight, with Gerald being discovered as well. So let's go ahead here.
I'd be very engaged by that.
But before we get there, Kyle and Cartman have this encounter in regards to Kenny.
Kenny.
And the talk. I think this is where Cartman even gives a speech about you wouldn't understand about the cats.
Dude, we've got a big problem. Cartman says Kenny is really messed up. He's cheesing his fucking balls off, dude. What? He apparently got to all the cats Cartman's been hiding in his attic. What are you doing with cats in your attic, fat ass? They're innocent victims in this, Cal. They have to hide or they'll be put to death. Something you just can't understand.
He did it.
Gotta find Kenny before he hurts himself. I can't. My dad grounded me. Wait a minute. Where is my dad?
And now, as we mentioned,
He is in Boobvana.
hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. He is very happy about this.
Ho!
There is another suitor.
Cannot yet caress my daughter's awesome boobage.
Huh? How come?
What?
There is another suitor.
Suitor. Kenny. Hey, get out of here, kid.
What? Get out of here, kid! Whoa, 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 whoa. You're too young for this stuff.
This must be decided at the
As she's
breastfeeding
naked there,
in
being
Nipopolis.
covered by the.
In Nipopolis.
All right, we gotta turn this down because it's definitely
Very, very heavy metal again.
some sort of copyrighted music that I probably don't know off the top of my head. But now they're fighting inside
Jousting even.
Lochnar trophy.
the Lochnar trophy, his wife, which is a trophy that's holding up his daughter's awesome boobs. And then they start fighting in their imagination. And then, as we mentioned, it's going to be revealed that they're actually inside of a sandbox outside what would be the park we have to inside South Park. Of course, in their own mind, though, they think everybody's cheering them on as they're there. They are. Okay, so now we're here in the park.
What the hell are you doing?
They've been going at it for a good 30 minutes.
Jimbo,
Little asshole!
you need to stop it. They've been going at it for a good 30 minutes.
Gerald is literally only in his underwear,
The key
fighting with a
proponent of
child
the
in a
cat man
sandbox.
has been charged with cheesing in a public park.
Okay, so before we get to the conclusion there, as you kind of hear the news reporter kind of making the segue, yes, Gerald is caught cheesing there in that public park, and he's the guy that came up with the idea to ban cats because he said that cats were evil and cats were ruining their society. And their children. So Gerald, of course, decides that cats are not the ones to blame, but people are, probably due to his own actions, of course. So all the cats are returned. And the boys, of course, they've decided they've learned something today. And they're glad that Kenny, of course, has gotten off this craze.
Yeah.
Kyle questions Cartman's action over his rescue of cats, asking if it reminds him of anything else in history, which Cartman goes,
no, I don't think so.
This, of course, makes Kyle even a bit more pissed. Kenny, meanwhile, has begun to get high on flowers, which Dan calls getting high on life, but then Kyle goes, dude, he's getting really high on life. And then Kyle's like, you're getting super wasted on life. And then they basically grab Kenny as he's taken back into the imaginary world with a large-breasted woman again after he gets high off what we have to assume is some sort of pollen. He probably looked up the ingredients. What's in urine? And what kind of ingredients what's the active ingredient?
Yeah. Oh, how can I get back to Boobvana?
So let's go ahead here and we'll go to the last couple scenes here in regards to that and them learning something today.
I'm sure glad that's over with. But you know, we've all learned something, you guys. We can never persecute living beings and force them into hiding. It's wrong. And you don't see any parallel between that and anything else in history. Nope. I have no idea what you're talking about, huh? You guys, check it out. It's Kenny. Isn't that great? He's just getting high on life. Yeah.
And he's getting deep, really sniffing. He's probably got to get a lot more than just one pisser, but it looks like it's working.
Dude, he's getting super wasted on life.
He's there. He's there. And he's gone.
That's how the
Kenny's in a flying car.
I play to watch, like for the visual watchers right here, as Kenny, of course, rides out now, and he's got the hot chick with her boobs, and they ride out into the universe, and they're going to set forth upon Kenny's imagination as he gets to rock out with the chick and the hot boobs as they hit light speed and they drive away. So that's your full recap there. We'll be back right on the other side with some trivia, some pop culture, some continuity, and guess what? Kenny had a lot of lines here, so you know what that means. We're coming right back, because we got to know what Kenny said. We'll be right back. Subscribe to Suck My Balls, a South Park review on Spotify, Apples, iTunes, anywhere you want to download a podcast, just type that in, subscribe to our feed, and you'll get the latest, greatest episode each and every week. You can also listen to us on YouTube and go back and watch some videos or any of our library. It's all there. Suck My Balls, South Park review. What's up, guys? Welcome back on the other side here of SMB, South Park Review. Shout out to our sponsors there, provided to you by Spreaker. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in probably about 15, 20 episodes again, we're bringing it back. We're going to let you know, what did Kenny say?
Very MGF of you.
That's right. Shout out to MJF. Kenny, of course, had a number of lines here. First, starting the episode after Mackie has his opening, Kenny says, you can get high from choking yourself? He then proceeds to try and choke himself. Following this, Kenny goes on to say while having a conversation with Cartman, Cartman says, okay, ready, Kenny? And Kenny says, all set. And then, Cartman pulls the cat piss. Kenny says, whoa. Kyle says, whoa. Stan says, do you feel anything? Anything happens, Kenny? And then Kenny goes into the universal world of the boobs. And Kenny does have some, words to say here. As he's having his conversation, he says, hey, cool, check it out. Father says, I see that you're enticed by my daughter's awesome rocking tits. And Kenny says, yeah. The father says, then bathe with my daughter in the fountain of Arnov. Appease the gods by lathering her boobs with soapy suds. Kenny says, okay. Of course, we didn't get to show you or play a lot of that audio at the time, ladies and gentlemen, because of the copyrighted music, so we're happy to read this to you. Continuing on, when Cartman finds him, he says, wake up, Kenny, you all right? Kenny wakes up, he says, what? Cartman says, dude, that cat urine really fucked you up. Kenny says, "You fucking asshole." Cartman then gets attacked by him. Kenny, knock it off. Later on, after Kyle encounters him, Kyle says, dude, Kenny, calm down. Kenny walks away, and Kenny says, I was so close. You should have seen her titties. That's a good point. He was pretty close to seeing those titties. And Stan says, what titties? And Kenny turns around and says, the titties. Oh my God, they were incredible. And says, yeah, and then you ran through town screaming and started taking off all your clothes. And Kenny finished that scene by saying, I almost touched them. Continuing on here, Kenny had some more lines. Kenny says, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And the agent says, sorry, those are illegal. This is, of course, when he's, getting attacked by the FBI agents who were coming in because he wanted to continue to get high off the cat urine. So Kenny says, what? No, what are you doing? And the agent tosses the cats into the van, and he says, you fuckers. And the van drives off. Continuing on here, even more, Stan says, nah, I think Kenny is out sick today. Kyle says, yeah, as they are looking for Kenny. Now, when they find Kenny, Kenny, of course, is still hallucinating. Kenny is screaming, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. And Kyle says, Kenny, and he pounds 3 more times. Kenny says, you home? They bust in. Kenny is like high off his ass, jumping around on woohoo, and says, woohoo, wahoo, what's up, what's up? What's up? As we heard the scene there, they're yelling at him, still cheering on as he's making flying motions, saying, and he says, victory, woohoo, and then he flies and he hits his head, as we saw there. Later on, now he wakes up. Kenny groans. Kenny says, Kyle says, Kenny, we need to have a serious talk. And Kenny says, no, we don't, guys. And Stan says, yes, we do. We're your friends, dude. We're not going to let you ruin your life. And Kenny says, I'm not ruining my life, okay? Will you guys back the fuck off? Kyle says, look at yourself. You got to lay off the cheese. And then he vomits, and we heard Butter say, yeah, that's a good boy. Just let it all out. He needs some sleepy night, doesn't he? And then Kenny says, okay, I just want to sleep now. So he goes to bed. Continuing on here, when Cartman finds Kenny in his basement, Kenny's lines there as he was cheesing were woohoo, woohoo. And then later on in the episode here, as we're getting to the tail end here of Kenny's lines, when Gerald encounters Kenny in the titty bitty gumdrop kingdom, whatever you want to call it, when he sees the awesome boobs, Gerald then says, huh? How come? And the father says, there's another suitor. And Gerald says, what? And Kenny says, no, fuck you. She's my girl. And they eventually end up fighting. You can hear Gerald saying, she's mine, you little asshole. And Kenny says, get the fuck off me. This is when they're in the sandbox, if you will. And then later on, during Gerald's speech, as he talks to the press, now we didn't play it, but here's what Gerald said. Gerald said, and to the people of South Park, I was wrong. I can't let cats take the fall anymore. It's our fault. The people who use cats for their sweet urine, which leads to Kenny looking down in shame. We have to learn that cheesing just isn't worth it. Sure, you get to fight in the breastery and swim in the fountains of Varnoff with the 80 titty fairies at the Mammary Mountain. And then you fight the boob goblin in the Gazanga Caves. And then that girl may thank you for it, but she isn't real. And Randy says, yeah, you never really get a good look at her naked boobs anyway. Which, of course, Sharon glares at him. And then Kenny eventually resolves by saying, yes, I guess so, because the only thing that matters is the people that care about you. And then later on, Stan says, I'm sure glad that's over with. Kenny says, me too. But then as we heard and saw there, Kenny's final lines as he's dancing and, with the music and gazes up at the women's bouncing boobs, he says, woo-hoo. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Kenny said. Da-da-da-da. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight. That, of course, is your Kenny. What did Kenny say? And your full recap. Mr. Becker.
Hello?
You want to read some pop culture for us before I read the trivia?
All right, Matty boy, give me a music bed and turn it down a little low. Let's see here. That's what I'm talking about. Nice and smooth. You bring it up a little bit. Bring it up. Let's get jazzy in here. Absolutely. Trivia time, kids.
Pop culture.
Boys and girls. Pop culture? Wait, hold on. Am I doing pop culture?
Pop culture.
All right, everybody. You want your references to pop culture? Daddy's got you. The fantasy sequences in this episode broadly reference the 1981 animated anthology film Heavy Metal in animation style and as well many specific details. Number one, the Lochnar trophy is literally a reference to the Lochnar, which is the film's centralized villain. The large-breasted woman is a reference to Tarna with 2 A's, everybody, the protagonist of the film's most famous segment of the same name. Because that one it's the more fantasy. That movie, being an anthology film, has lots of sections to it. It's got futuristic, sci-fi. It's got a fantasy one. And everyone loved the fantasy one. I don't know why. Maybe it's Tarna. The scene where Kenny saves Tarna, this Tarna lookalike from her captors, is a reference to the scene in Tarna where Tarna fights off an army of mutated barbarians who had earlier captured her. And that did happen. And I'm pretty sure they were ripping off her clothes and getting her nude-like. So you can see what really sold the tickets. Gerald's bomber is a B-17 bomber. Just like the Pacific Pearl that featured in the segment of the film entitled B-17. That was the name of that segment. And it was like a World War II segment. It was very, very weird. And it came out of nowhere, and I kind of loved it. The nose art on Gerald's plane identifies it as the Jewish princess, as we've covered. Heavy Metal, Taking a Ride by Don Felder, the song that we could not play, but was just fucking rocking. It plays each time someone cheeses. As you will know. The episode features 2 other songs from the film. It's Sammy Hagar's So Beautiful and So Dangerous, as well as Riggs' Radar Rider, played in the film's opening segment entitled Soft Landing. I believe that was the one with John Candy. Kenny's car is a 1979 black Pontiac Trans Am, and if you did not notice that right off the top, you need to watch more Top Gear, baby. It's a reference to the film's white Corvette that appeared in the Soft Landing segment. Yep, right there at the beginning. There was some really iconic stuff in there. And then the follow-up segment entitled Grimaldi, which might be the weird sci-fi one. Due to the animation difficulty, though, they just used a 3D model and kind of made it look like it was the style of the rest of the hand-drawn animation. Because they, as you mentioned, they had done some rotoscoping. They brought in a porn star. They brought in literally their chief IO, the server room guy.
Yeah, they did a great job here going out of their comfort zone when it comes to that animation style once again, right? Because this was, I mean, they had done it, I'd say, a couple times. I'd say their biggest one obviously was working with World of Warcraft and Blizzard, but that was using their engine. This is them having to like draw and animate this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was literally them.
Fun. Kind of a little change for the the artist itself.
Yeah, it did a little easier, and this is referenced in the 6 Days to Air documentary. They said that Trey will just come out of the room, and we're making this in a week, and sometimes you have to go, okay, we have to emulate an entire 80s hand-drawn style. It's crazy the kind of stuff that they can do, especially now with $1 billion. In the attic where Cartman hides his cats, there's a picture of British author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and he tells his cat to write a diary. I'm telling you, he just does this to fuck with Kyle. Right. Cartman hiding multiple cats in his attic, it references the Diary of Anne Frank. When he goes out to let in Rufus, as you know, the favorite neighbor cat, Cartman wears a fedora and overcoat similar to Oscar Schindler's in Schindler's List. And like we mentioned, it was literally in black and white. Yep. The scene in which Cheryl Broflovsky gives a press conference, is a reference to, and this is one of my favorite in South Park, honestly. It's a reference to former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer's press conference when he was forced to resign after being involved with prostitutes.
Oh, that's the reference.
Exactly that shot. He had his wife behind him. He has his stupid bald spot at the front, the worst hairline I've ever seen on a man. And literally, she has that look. She is just dead inside as he is literally apologizing to a room packed full of reporters, telling them that he's sorry that he not only used prostitutes, he used prostitutes a lot and then drugs. Man, that guy partied down.
That guy partied down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am not the 2022 Red Rocks Day 1 trivia champion. That is our boy, Dirty JV, and he is not here. He though, shout out to you, is a trivia god. But I will do my best here. Here's some trivia. Mr. Kitty was revealed, of course, to be a hermaphrodite, which you can check the fact section of South Park Studios. The large-breasted woman, as you mentioned, was performed by live porn actress Lisa Daniels, animated later, and this technique, as you mentioned as well, is called rotoscoping. Likewise, the three burly men attacking the women during the scene where Kenny rescues her from them were performed by J.J. Franzen using the same process. This is the first and only episode to get a TVMA LSV rating, of course, because there was the nudity in there. This episode shows Gerald Broflovski without his kapor, kapah, is that how you pronounce those things?
Kapor.
When Kyle leaves his room to answer the doorbell, a doll of one of the Juzian executives can be seen on the floor. Oh,
and how did it get to a whole doll? I guess they're really holding on to that blackmail.
I think we sucked on each other's jag-ons.
They should bring them back one episode just to make the closing of the Weinsteins.
You're right. Kenny's mouth is briefly seen where he vomits in the show, when he vomits in the kitchen with Butters. Just let it out there, buddy. At the beginning of the episode, Mr. Mackey warns the class about the choking game in which children choke themselves to get a euphoric feeling. This actually was a real thing that happened. The news was covering this. I remember seeing this, and I thought it was funny at the time that South Park parodied it and covered it. In the creator commentary for this episode, Trey and Matt said that the idea came from their annual writers' retreat. Despite having the idea fully fleshed out, the main issue was the animation, as they initially believed that they could still have done all the heavy metal style animation on their machines. Eventually, though, after weeks of trial and error, they had to resort to hiring an additional group of animators to help out with the hand-drawn in-between animation. They point out how extremely difficult it would have been to make South Park in that manner and express their gratitude for the artists and storyboard department that they have.
They literally had to bring in like what they usually ship out to Korea to do the in-betweeners because, oh my God, those keyframes are ridiculously still. It's like flash. It's like hand-drawn. You have to go beep, 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 beep.
Okay, and finally here, they also mentioned that the worst part of working on this episode was having to watch Heavy Metal multiple times. As despite the episode being a nod to the film, both Trey and Matt thought the film sucked when they were kids, and they think it still sucks now.
I mean that checks out. Like all the films that they've liked and disliked, and they're like very specific, like tastes and stuff. Like they want quality. They don't want just like titties and stuff. But it is a vibe. It's a cultural vibe, and I'll stand by it.
And here's 4 or 5 pieces of continuity information for you. This is one of several episodes that focuses on Kenny after his death in Kenny Dies. In Kenny's house, a bullet hole is still in the window is visible, referencing his death from The List, which we saw a couple episodes back. This episode featured Kenny's first speaking appearance of this season. Mr. Kitty reappears in this episode. He had only been, last time we saw him was in Pokemon. Pokemon! I've got to buy it. Pokemon. And
one of the peak South Park episodes.
Right? You can go back and check out that full review where we've actually got an official, he was at the time, not anymore, but an official Nintendo Pokemon touring player. Like he was in the leagues. He played in nationals. Was like one of the top 10 players in the world.
Damn, and that's a good game to get into. That shit is popular. I did Yu-Gi-Oh professionally a little bit. I was a Southeast regional champion, baby. I think twice. Play mats and everything, bro. I was dripping in good official swag. But also, not to put myself over, yeah, that's a good game to get into, dude. Yeah, Pokemon, you go to like the regionals at Pokemon, and it ain't like the Hilton Inn. They rent out like convention centers.
Yeah, and then he got onto the tour, so they were paying him per diems just to travel around and play Pokemon. Jesus. So I thought that
those guys come out in jackets sponsored by Jimmy John's. Like that shit is tight.
And then finally here, the final piece of continuity. In the scene where Kyle's mother finds the cat hidden in her son's dresser, as we mentioned, there is a photo of Kyle, though, with his pet elephant near the window on the nightstand. This is a reference to an elephant makes love to a pig. But hey, as we understood, a pig and elephant DNA just don't match. Pig and elephant DNA. Have you heard that song by Loverboy? So that is your continuity, your references to pop culture, a little bit of trivia. What did Kenny say? Your full recap. Dane, what did you like about this episode, sir?
Heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal. I mean, it's just one of those pinnacles where it's very much like the WoW episode. And not only because of its differing animation styles and like real parody, rather than like the satirical parody that we're all used to and that we all know and love from South Park. But like literally, it also feels like the WoW episode because it gets it so right while it's literally making fun of it. Like it's boobies everywhere, but it's like it really it doesn't just copy its animation, because if you did that, you just be like some of those like really intricate Family Guy cutaways where they, have more than 3 circles on a character's face. Literally, what they do here is that they emulate everything about it, even the feel, the vibe.
Remember the time I invited Gary Coleman over for dinner and we met Muhammad or whatever?
Will you talk about me? Fucking ass. But it literally, it does. It emulates the whole, just like WoW, it gets it so perfectly while making fun of it. It really understands what that is while literally shitting on it. And you know what? That's just South Park at its heart. What I disliked is nothing at all. Nothing. I mean, there's nothing bad about this episode.
When I first saw this episode, as we mentioned, this came out March 26th of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in college at that point, right? So, or I was either in college or I was moving around doing my other job. But I remember seeing this episode and I liked it, but I had never seen heavy metal at the time, so I didn't get the references. I just thought the animation was badass. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And like the music, and this is awesome. And their art style is really cool.
Yes. Yeah. I think same.
I found out afterwards that this is a reference when I got the DVDs, right? I found out that this was a reference to heavy metal, and then you go find the movie and the shorts and you watch it. So now as an adult, seeing this episode over and over and seeing heavy metal, as there's nothing more I need to say. You kind of, wrapped it all up there, Dane. It's a great episode. The art style is amazing. The story's funny. I like that. It's another great episode of South Park where all 4 boys are involved, the true core of the episode. Now adding in Butters.
Agreed. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Agreed.
A full-on just focused on our 4th graders.
Yes.
So I really did like that aspect of this episode. And, I would say the only thing that I didn't like, but I did like, it's kind of a catch-22, is I like that they made fun of the fact that these after-school specials, but at the same time, you're like, oh my God, after-school specials. You know what I mean? So it's funny because they made fun of it, you get it, but you're also like, oh my God, it's an after-school.
Yeah, those portions are, if there would be like a nitpick for me, I guess, I would put a little more negative on it. I'd be like, yeah, those portions are like so PSA that they almost annoy you like PSAs.
Right, exactly. But that's what they're meant to do, right? So, I mean,
right.
You won, you got over, you got your heat. Ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's going to do it here for another edition. SMB South Park Reviews. Linktr.ee/SouthParkPod. Hit that like and subscribe button on all of your podcast outlets. If you're watching right here on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button, share, leave a comment. What did you think of this episode? What is your favorite moment here from the cheesing episode itself? Of course, you can also check us out on Twitter at SouthParkPod, at Instagram at SouthParkPodcast, and all outlets just by typing in South Park.
Baby. Pop that link tree.
I hope you enjoyed this recap of Major Boobage. Again, once again, this was episode 170 for South Park, 173 for us. Shout out to the Mac Daddy, the Doctor of Thugonomics, Punkonomics, Scoobonomics, Polyphonics, the 2022 Day A1 Red Rock South Park Trivia Champion. He is a trivia god. Go ahead and check out PrimosProWrestling.net. Support them because that guy pays for Joe's, bills. The guy, because that's who Joe works for. So go check them out so that way you can support Joe right now as he's on the mend. Shout out to you, Dirty J. They're on Fight. Go check them out, PrimosProWrestling.net. But you know who else is going to be all over the country, I imagine, at some point here? It's a man who just launched and helped direct their very first episode of Derby City Championship Wrestling. And they're also coming up here in 10 days. You can get your tickets now, but he's going to tell you more about it. Dane Becker.
Derby City Wrestling, not Derby City Championship Wrestling, but Derby City Wrestling. Just a small adjustment, but you had it right. It's the brand, it's the style, it's the representation. Guys, seats start at $12. We are running out of the fantastic, the magnificent, the humongous Norton Sports and Learning Center. We've got Impact's Allison Kay making her historic debut. We've got AEW's Shawn Dean and Carly Bravo as the infantry. We've got Marty Bell, one of the greatest, the Dominican Dynamite, baby. Marty Bell is going to be there. We have Aaron Williams calling out Willie Mack. Willie Mack just got signed by AEW, and Aaron Williams wants a piece of that. Does he want the contract? Does he want anything? No. He just wants to ruin his time. So that'll be a match. Norton Healthcare Sports and Learning Center. Tickets start at $12 if you're in the Louisville area. And if you're not, Derby City TV, DerbyCityWrestling.tv, and find us on YouTube. Derby City Wrestling episodes posting all the time.
All right. I'm excited. You should be excited if you're in the Louisville area, if you're just in that area itself. You know, if you're in Indiana, you're in Kentucky, if you're in the Carolinas,
At Derby City W.
Go on down. Get yourself some fun action. See the returning Man Beast, as well as other stars.
Ted Trailer, baby. He was hot and popping in his match last time. What is he going to do this time? Is he going to continue the story, or is he going to try to climb that DCW ladder?
The comeback story. It's written there for you to see, the viewer. So go check it out. DCW, Derby City.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, the Heat, and I can't be beat. Every guy who's high with the area is dry. Your boy, MS to the G. Please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back next week as we're going to find a whole country is pissed because they want more money. They want some more of that internet money.
Give us some of that internet money. We are ready.
Give us some of that internet money.
You remember memes before they were good? You remember memes when they were 3-minute videos? Bringing it back.
We're bringing it back as we come back next week, as it's going to be Canada on strike. And of course, we're also going to have a little bit of a side story here as we learn about the advent of the internet, and at the time, how you couldn't make a lot of money, but you could still go viral, as Butters is going to have one of his more viral moments next week as he finds out what is in his butt. So don't miss that. Come back next week on another edition of SMB. I mean, do you want to put it in his butt? In his butt? Put it in his butt. In his butt. Do you want to put it in his butt? In his butt. Well, go ahead. Put it in his butt.